Hello, good evening, everyone. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Parina Sharma. I've done my graduation from Maitre College in History and Political Science, and my post-graduation in History only from Jamia Milia, Islamia. I would like to thank the Graduate Scholars Talk Series team, Department of History of Shyam Lal College Evening, and Manish sir for providing this opportunity. Also, thanks to our guest of honor, Atika Watts ma'am. Since I was also a student of university and Maitre College, I would like to take this opportunity to also thank my principal ma'am, Harthma Chopra ma'am, Rajni ma'am, who was my convener when I was vice president of the Students' Union, and Priyanka Nirupam ma'am, who was there to teach me the history and guide me through my college years. So now I would like to begin. First, let me share my screen. Just a second. Is it visible to everyone?
Yes, it is.
So my topic for today is MSP and inclusive growth, and I'll be evaluating the policy effectiveness of MSP. So before we dive into the details, let me first introduce you to what I'll be explaining through this talk. So first, I'll be introducing you with the concept of MSP, what it is, and what was the historical evolution through which we have this MSP policy today that we have. And then I'll be telling you this is the most important part of this talk series. Generally, when we come across the news regarding MSP, we go through that, but we don't really know what are the discontent of the farmers and what is the stand of government on this, because we don't know how MSP is determined. And the whole discontent revolves around that only. So I'll be explaining you that. What was the Swaminathan Committee, which was constituted in 2004 and gave its report in 2006. Then the farm laws that we all witnessed, that farmers had nationwide protest against this. Then the implementation challenges related to MSP, the reforms that government is working on, the recent policy developments that government came up with regarding MSP, and then the recent framework that government has presented in Parliament in 2024 November, and what can be the way forward. We'll be concluding with that. So first, what is MSP? The minimum support price that we all know is the minimum price that government guarantees to the farmers each year before the sowing season, that is Kharif and Rabi. And it is announced by the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs on the recommendation of Commission for Agricultural Cost and Prices. Total 23 crops are covered under this, which includes cereal, pulses, oilseeds, etc. In the recent budget that was announced by the government, 4% of the budget was allocated to the food security, which also includes MSP. Not totally it is related to MSP, but a part of it constitutes the MSP. Its objective is to protect the farmers from the price volatility that works in the market dynamics due to the supply and demand that is there, and to ensure that minimum income is there with the farmer, even if there are price volatility, and they don't have to distress sale their produce. Then this is the reason why it matters, because it ensures stability in the market and food security also, because it is also linked to the public distribution system that we have. And this is reason why it became relevant for public policy also, as it constitute as a important pillar of agricultural policy in our country. And through this, government tries to intervene in the market and ensure the price stabilization in the market. So this is the reason why we are here to discuss MSP today. So first, I'll be going through the historical evolution that MSP went through. So it originated as a concept when in Green Revolution, when the government came up with Green Revolution in 1966, uh, which aimed to have self-sufficiency in terms of grains, basically wheat and paddy, because back then we were not self-sufficient in that terms, and we were dependent on PL 480, PL 480 grains that we all know from America. So government aimed to to attain self-sufficiency in that terms, and to ensure that farmers don't get affected by the price volatility in those terms when HYV seeds came. तो इस बात को इंश्योर करने के लिए कि farmers को एक particular income मिले, government came up with this concept of MSP, that whatever will be the prices, government will buy or produce at this particular price at least. So to bring this confidence in the farmers, government came up with this concept. Then through times, it expanded to different crops and cereals, and it expanded to cover 23 crops around, which included pulses, oilseeds, etc. Then post-liberalization in 1991, our priorities shuffled a bit because we shifted our focus more on tertiary sector than on the primary sector. And the priority, it shuffled in terms that agriculture took a backseat and a tertiary sector was more focused back then. So this focus shift was there. Now I will be telling you that how MSP is calculated. So I already told you that it is announced by the cabinet committee on the recommendation of this commission. While commission formulate this particular price, there are some challenges that are associated with it, because state government also announced their advised price on MSP. तो उसको भी include करना is a task for commission, because we have to come up with an inclusive price to address all the demands of states also. So that becomes a challenge. And then farmers unions and the political parties that are regional political parties that are there, they also demand according to their particular situations, their respective situations. So उन सबको accommodate करना becomes a challenge when commission is determining this particular price. Now there are three levels of determining this price. So first cost that is determined is A2. A2 is the direct cost that is there while farmer is sowing a crop. जब कोई फार्मर कोई भी क्रॉप लगा रहा है तो उसको फर्स्ट सीड खरीदनी होगी, फर्टिलाइजर खरीदना होगा, लेबर हायर करना होगा. सो उस सब की जो डायरेक्ट कॉस्ट होती है दैट कम्स अंडर A2. एंड देन इफ देयर इज फार्मर और उसकी एक फैमिली मेंबर्स भी हैं, जैसे उसकी वाइफ भी उस पर काम कर रही है, देन हिज ब्रदर इज ऑल्सो वर्किंग ऑन दिस. सो दिस फैमिली लेबर्स कॉस्ट then is included in determining the cost of MSP. That is called as A2 plus FL, that is family labor. So this imputed cost of family labor, when is included, it becomes A2 plus FL. And then comes the third level of it. Jab, when there's a land and farmer is sowing their crop on that, if that land is put on rent, that farmer will be earning that income. So if that income is also included while determining the cost, and now there's some capital that farmer is investing while sowing that crop to buy these seeds and fertilizers. So if this capital would have been put into some saving scheme of banks, the farmer would be earning some interest on that. So when this rent and interest cost is also included while determining the MSP, that is called as C2. So these three types of costs exist in terms of MSP, not in terms of MSP while determining the MSP. What government goes through, I will be discussing later. Now comes the Swaminathan Committee. So Swaminathan Committee was constituted in 2004, and it gave its recommendation in 2006 while addressing the critical issues that farmers were going through. Two key recommendations were there in terms of MSP, which I'll be discussing now. So what Swaminathan Committee recommended was that you give to farmers C2 plus 50% of C2 also. So that will be 1.5% of C2. And also enlarge your list of crops that are covered under MSP, because back then government was only focusing on paddy and wheat. सो स्वामीनाथन कमेटी ने कहा कि आप अपनी जो लिस्ट ऑफ क्रॉप्स है जो आप एमएसपी में कवर करते हो उसको भी थोड़ा सा एक्सपैंड करो, सो दैट जो फार्मर्स हैं वो उन क्रॉप्स पे भी एक्सप्लोर करें, नॉट revolving around the paddy and wheat only. Then in 2008, government came up with this announcement that they will be giving 1.5% of the production cost. Now production cost, what they considered was A2 plus FL, the direct cost plus the family labor cost, not the C2. What farmers then wanted after the Swaminathan Committee was that C2 should be provided to them in terms of MSP plus 50% as the Swaminathan Committee suggested. But the definition of, so government said that we are giving C2 only. But the cost that they were including was according to A2 plus FN. So their definition of C2 differed from what Swaminathan Committee has recommended. So that is where the discontent all started. And then we see how it went in the farm laws. Now, why farm laws came? So government, so there is already a structure of APMC mandis that is there. I will be briefly discussing that. So APMC mandis are there. These are like, if we see this on small scale, these are like vegetable mandis, the sabji mandi that we have, where the farmers go and sell their products on large scale, on whole scale. So the same exists in commodities, that is APMC mandi, which are which are operated by the state governments and are also regulated by the arhatiyas. Arhatiyas are the middlemen. So this structure was already existing. Also, some contract farming was also existing, which was like private companies when they go to the farmers and buy their product from the land only. So that was also existing. But what government want is कि हम जो ये contract farming चल रही है, इसको एक proper structure में लेके आते हैं through the farm laws. So they came up with this law. This law was divided into 3 parts. Just a second. This law was divided into 3 parts. The first part was regarding how this contract farming will work. This Farmers, Producers, Trade and Commerce Act was how this whole contract farming will work. And this also called was contract farming only. कि कैसे इसका structure रहेगा. If there is if the person has to sell the product to the company directly, so they don't have to pay the cess or fees to the APMC. कोई state levy नहीं लगेगा उनके ऊपर. So all these parameters were outlined in this act. Then came the Protection Act. So this act was how if there will be any grievances, तो उनको कैसे address करा जाएगा. This act was regarding that. कोई dispute होगा तो उसे कैसे resolve करा जाएगा. So a 3-level committee, 3-level structure was determined at district, state and national level. कि अगर कोई grievances होंगे, कोई dispute होगा तो farmer can go there. And also there was a clause कि अगर कोई discontent है उन दोनों के बीच में, कोई contract हुआ, so farmer can also walk out of that and the person of interest, the company can also walk out of that. तो उसका कैसे structure होगा, वो सब was also determined in the act. Then came the Essential Commodities Act. So why this Essential Commodities Act came, I have to give you the background also. Well, see, generally what happens, जो भी कंज्यूमर प्रोडक्ट होते हैं, जैसे पोटैटो हो गया, ये नॉट कंज्यूमर प्रोडक्ट, पेरिशेबल प्रोडक्ट्स होते हैं, सो दे रिक्वायर कोल्ड स्टोरेज एंड वेयर हाउसेस सो दैट उनको स्टोर करा जा सके, डिस्ट्रेस सेल ना हो उसकी. सो अभी करंटली जो प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स हैं, दे डोंट कम इनटू द investment of these cold storages and warehouses because government has this limit on the storage. So if they come up with this this storage facility, अगर government उस पे limit लगा देती है कि आप इस limit से ज़्यादा होल्ड नहीं कर सकते हो, so they have to distress sale. So generally जो private players होते हैं, they don't invest in these storages. This act came कि हम एक पर्टिकुलर लिस्ट ऑफ कमोडिटीज के ऊपर से ये लिमिट हटा देंगे. देयर विल बी नो लिमिट ऑन दिस. सो दिस के ताकि जो प्राइवेट प्लेयर्स हैं वो इन इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर रिक्वायरमेंट्स में इन्वेस्ट कर सके. दिस एक्ट केम बिकॉज ऑफ दैट टू प्रोवाइड सच वेयर हाउसेज एंड कोल्ड स्टोरेजेस. Now what I came up with this ki what was the farmer's stand on this and what was the government stand on this, on what middle path could have been explored, because we all know that this farm law failed horribly. So what farmers feared is that because इस act में कहीं पे भी MSP या मंडीज के बारे में बात नहीं की गई थी and it was all about private sale. So what farmers feared is that maybe we'll lose the MSP and mandis altogether, these APMC mandis altogether. And this also is evident from the fact because majority of जो protest था was constituted by the farmers of Punjab, Haryana and UP only. जो साउथ के फार्मर्स थे, we did see some rallies and such things, such activities from those farmers, but majority was constituted by these farmers only. So this is the reason why this can be said that they went for this protest because they thought that they'll lose the MSPs and mandis altogether. Also, the government did not promise that they will be giving the MSP as per the Swaminathan Committee. This fear was also there. The government stand was that कि हम इसको liberalize करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, ना कि हम MSP और मंडीज को all together हटाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं. What we want that एक private investment भी आए इस पूरे एरिया में, because right now it is dominated by the APMC mandis only. MSP will remain unchanged, but because the anxiety was there, this couldn't be tackled. So what middle path could have been explored was that there should have been a grievance redressal mechanism, because ऐसा तो नहीं है कि contract farming was not existing before only. This grievance redressal mechanism could have been there before, ताकि farmers को ये रहता कि okay, even if we will be having any exploitation, तो हम इस particular authority के पास जा सकते हैं. But that was not there. That was not present when the farm laws came. And then this legalizing the fixing of minimum price. So what demand farmers made was that कि हमारे को जो ये MSP मिलता है, ये इसके डिमांड, इसका जो फिक्सेशन है उसको एक राइट बना दिया जाए, लीगल राइट बना दिया जाए. But government always says that this will increase their fiscal burden. Then they will have to procure it also. So what could have been done is that procurement को legal right ना बनाते हुए प्राइस फिक्सिंग को लीगल राइट बना दिया जाए, ताकि एक पर्टिकुलर प्राइस रहे मार्केट में whenever they will be selling, और एक्सप्लॉइटेशन नहीं होगा उससे. तो उसमें गवर्नमेंट की भी कोई लाइबिलिटी नहीं है that they have to procure. एक मिनिमम प्राइस फिक्स किया जा सकता है. Then एक नेशन वाइड consensus was absent back then when farm laws came. That is why also there was a huge anxiety and discontent among the farmers when the farm laws came. Now I'll be telling you about the implementation challenges that are there. So when MSP is implemented, there are some challenges that it associates. First is skewed procurement. So क्या होता है कि there are few states like Punjab, Haryana, MP or UP also, they generally dominate the procurement in terms of MSP, and other states like northeast states like Bihar and other eastern states, they lag behind. उसके बहुत सारे कारण हैं which we will explore today in the talk. इसका एक एग्जांपल लिया जाए तो जो पंजाब, it has the share of production in terms of wheat is 11%, but procurement में इसका share 32% है. ऐसे ही हरियाणा का भी है और ऐसे ही यूपी का भी है. So in this sense there is a skewed procurement. कुछ states के यहाँ से ज्यादा procure हो रहा है और कुछ states यहाँ से कम procure हो रहा है. Then there is a coverage gap. Now, because it all started when the Green Revolution came through wheat and pulses, through wheat and paddy only, it is still there. Generally, जो ज़्यादा majority procurement होता है, it revolves around wheat and paddy only, and other crops like pulses, oil seeds, and millets, they lag behind in terms of procurement. So there's a coverage gap also. Then there are infrastructure bottlenecks also. FCI ke godowns, there are storage issues. We all come across the news that anaj kharab ho raha hai in the godowns is because there is infrastructure bottleneck. If we see that in Haryana, per 3 to 4 village, there is one center of procurement. And in Bihar, per 40 plus villages, there is one center. Then we can imagine how procurement and how infrastructure is done in these states. Then there is fiscal stress also, because we are a welfare nation, a welfare government is run by our nation, but still there are other public security schemes that are going on. And this becomes a fiscal stress when government goes for procurement of all the crops that are covered under MSP. So this is another challenge. Then PDS linkages. So just जो ये procure होता है, जब भी ये सारा जो अनाज होता है, it is went out through the PDS, like public distribution system, in which government provides this wheat and rice at very low cost to the below poverty line families. And it also provides for the jail ration. But when this PDS leakages happen, because we all know that hoarding is a fact in the PDS. So जब वो होता है तो जो ये पूरा structure होता है, it collapse when it is linked to each other. तो इसलिए भी एक implementation challenge बन जाता है. Then comes the environmental consequence. We all know that global warming is a reality, and now IPCC also said that we are entering into the age of global boiling. Then in that terms also MSP becomes a challenge, because we are revolving around few crops, that is paddy and MSP. And if I to focus on paddy, because paddy is one of the most important emitter of methane, so that becomes an environment challenge, which is a greenhouse gas. Then also irrigation, because paddy takes a lot of water, and 80% of irrigation water in Punjab, if we say as an example, goes to paddy due to MSP incentives only. So that's an implementation challenge in terms of that. Now, if we see the gaps in MSP, so what is the gap in terms of MSP and women? So what we see is that जो farm पे labor होती है is generally contributed by the female member of the family, because what happens is that जब sowing season होता है और जब उसके जब sowing season होता है, that is all done by the female labor, and the male member of the family generally migrate to the urban centers to find jobs. So जो labor हो रहा है, that is तो done by the female, but because जो land है is in the name of the male member of the family, there becomes a gap. There comes a gap in terms of कि उसका benefit किसके पास तक जा पा रहा है. जो actual labor दे रहा है उसके पास तक नहीं जा पा रहा है, because land is not in their name. As we see that land ownership is in terms of land ownership, women are much lesser than men. Then same uska consequences that MSP awareness भी नहीं है इतनी in with females, और benefit access भी कम हो रहा. Then अगर हम दूसरा gap देखें is, as I said, कि जो procurement है that revolves around few states like Punjab and Haryana. तो उसमें जो नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न स्टेट्स हैं दे लैग बिहाइंड, बिकॉज वहां पे जो क्रॉप्स उगाई जाती है ज्यादातर उन पे एक तो एमएसपी नहीं होता है, और दूसरा ड्यू टू इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बॉटलनेक्स वहां से हम इतना ज्यादा प्रोक्योर करते भी नहीं. सो दे लैग बिहाइंड इन दैट टर्म्स. ज्यादातर वहां पे जो लोग होते हैं दे sometimes even sell their product lesser than MSP. So that is a gap in terms of MSP that is present in our country. Then we come to reform. अभी तक हमने देखा कि what are the challenges. Now what are the reforms that government is working on? What first among them is income support price. Now government came up with the scheme of PM Kisan, thinking that we will be giving money incentives to the monetary incentives to the farmers and not through the MSP. So they will be able to spend their income on capacity building of their whole agriculture field, and also according to them only they can spend that particular income. Now in that terms, I think that is giving the justice to the states that were lagging behind in terms of MSP, because 2.17 crore, that is 91% of the eligible farmers comes from UP in terms of PM Kisan, and 9.3 lakh farmers comes from Punjab. So in that terms, now government is shifting their focus from these states that were reaping the benefits of MSP since years. Then now also, as we saw the gap in Northeast states and MSP, in these scheme also Northeastern states are lagging behind, because only 26.4 lakh farmers are getting the benefits, and in that also majority has been taken by the Assam. The other Tripura, Mizoram, Manipur, all these states are lagging behind in terms of these schemes. Then comes the price insurance scheme. One such example is PM Fasal Bima Yojana. So what government came up with that is that we will be ensuring the particular income that you are getting. अगर उसका वो income आपको MSP से कम मिलेगी, so that gap we will be ensuring. Or if there is any crop that you are growing, उसकी अगर कोई natural calamity से वो crop खराब हो जाती है. Few years ago we saw that during March wheat crop saw a failure due to the heat waves that were coming. So in such scenarios, government will be providing you some support, and on these schemes, they also provide subsidy. A perfect example for this is PM Fasal Bima Yojana. As of 2023-24 season, largest crop insurance scheme it is globally, and 55% of its total coverage comes from loan-loany farmers. Now, first let me explain that whenever a farmer takes a loan, it is compulsory for them to go for this yojana. The success of this scheme is that 55% of its total coverage is from non-loan, because now we can see that voluntarily farmers are coming to take this scheme and take benefits of this scheme. So that is one reform that government is working on. Then climate linked incentive. Now, as we saw that environmental consequences is one of the challenge of MSP. To counter that, government came with PM Krishi Sichai Yojana. With this, government promotes sustainable irrigation facilities like drip irrigation. Abhi we saw that paddy में सबसे ज़्यादा ground water use होता है. Now to counter such practices, government came up with Krishi Sichai Yojana, जिसमें कि sustainable irrigation practices like drip irrigation, sprinkle irrigation is promoted. और उस पे government जो है वो भी देती है, subsidy भी देती है. And now again, one success of this scheme is that major beneficiaries come from southern India, that is Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. Abhi tak, the northern states and basically Punjab, Haryana and UP were benefiting from these schemes of MSP. Now through these schemes, now the southern states are also benefiting through these schemes. Now the recent policy developments that government came up. So first is MSP hike on some crops, which includes ragi. Why ragi is important? In 2023, we had the millet year, International Millet Year. And why millet is important is that isko ugana is very easy in terms that it does not get affected much by the environmental consequences, like we had the example of wheat. So ye harsh conditions mein bhi ugai ja sakti hai. It does not take much water. That is the case with paddy. It is good for health also. So now government is focusing on such crops. Now government is providing MSP on such crops. Though इनका procurement बहुत कम है, less than 5% है, still the hope can be seen that government is increasing MSP on these crops, because now they think they want that farmers जो है वो इन crops पे भी shift करें. Then comes the MSP for mangoes. Recently, government announced MSP on mangoes in Karnataka. So this is first horticulture crop that came under MSP. Again, the government is thinking to widen their list of crops and encourage the farmers to go for other crops also other than paddy and wheat. Then the procurement under price security scheme for pulses. Same, pulses A is good for health of the soil, as it contributes in the nitrification of the soil. B, to encourage farmer again to go for different crops also in terms of pulses also. So now government is focusing on these crops other than paddy and wheat. Now this comes this framework, national policy framework on agriculture marketing. So other than what I have already mentioned, that government has introduced the price security scheme and such schemes, government came up with some other framework also, which were sort of extension of the farm laws, like private wholesale market. As I said, as was the aim of the farm laws also, कि APMC mandis तो exist कर रही हैं. To have an alternative to that in private terms, government said that we can have private wholesale markets also, just like MSP. The whole objective is to provide choice to the farmer, कि उसके पास choice हो जाने की किसी भी market में और distress sell ना करना पड़े, जैसे कि APMC मंडीज में करना पड़ता है. Then the one nation one market, there shall be one nation, कोई state wise state cess levy ना हो, fees levy ना हो, there shall be one nation one market, एक ही fees हो. That is one other endeavor of the government. Then direct farm gate purchase, and again an extension of what farm laws were aiming at. Contract farming को support करना, उसको promote करना, कि जो farmer है वो direct sale कर पाए rather than going for the middlemen that are there. The whole point is to eliminate these middlemen because they generally contribute in A, lessening the income of farmer, and B, being burden on consumer, increasing the final price of the product. So in middlemen को eliminate करने का जो aim है, that is encouraged by the government, again through Grameen Hearts, that farmer be able to sell their products directly to the consumer. Price insurance scheme, as I've already mentioned. So this was the framework that sort of was an extension of what government aimed in farm laws that it came up with in November 2024. Now, what can be the way forward? We all discussed what are the gaps, what are the challenges that are there regarding MSP. Now, what can be the framework? I have already mentioned that it should be widened, which government is working on by announcing MSP on ragi and such crops. Two important things that I would like to mention are market reforms. Promote ENAM. What is ENAM? ENAM is Electronic National Agriculture Market. So it's an electronic platform that the whole aim of this platform is that a person sitting in Delhi, Azadpur, Mandi mein बैठा हुआ farmer can sell their product in some mandi in Karnataka also. So ये जो gap है, ये जो interstate gap है, इसको cover करने का जो aim है is with the ENAM. Now, the issue that we come across is that only 1.75 crore farmers are registered on this, and only 50% are trading on these platforms. What are the issues regarding that? Because first thing that comes to our mind is that, okay, maybe villages are not that well penetrated in terms of digital media, which is not true. According to the recent research that was done by the Niti Aayog, perhaps, that 93.2% of villages have the digital penetration. So clearly there is no awareness regarding such platforms or no promotion of such platforms. And government also has other digital endeavors like BharatNet, through which government is working on digitizing various gram panchayats. Lakhs of gram panchayats have been digitized through that particular scheme. So digital penetration is there, but farmers are not using because maybe there is hesitation of abandoning the traditional form of selling the product, or maybe they are not aware. So we need to work on that. That's a way forward we can take from the discussion. Then farmer producers organization. Since our independence, since the land reforms that the government came up with, government has been focusing on farm producers organization. Why is that so? Because unki jo when they come collectively, when they sell collectively, when they bargain collectively, unki jo collective power hoti hai against the buyer, वो बढ़ जाती है और capacity building भी बढ़ती है. Because when we are talking about contract farming, there are some things that these private contractors look for. कि उनका mechanization हो पाएगा fields का कि नहीं. Because हमारे यहाँ पे fragmentation of land बहुत है. छोटी lands are there. What contract farmers want, what these big companies want is a big land जिसपे अच्छे से mechanization हो पाए, उसपे tractors चल पाए, other mechanization processes can be there. But when small farmers communicate with them, they are not interested. पहले भी जो contract farming हो रही है और अभी जो contract farming हो रही है, they are done with large landholders. And जो small landholders हैं, वो जो small farmers हैं, small and marginal farmers, they lag behind on this. तो इसलिए again हमें back to basic आने की जरूरत है, that farmers producers organizations need to be strengthened ताकि ये जो fragmentation of land है इसको एकत्रित किया जा सके एक साथ. When farmers will be dealing with the private player, they will have more bargaining power. So that can be done through farmers producers organization. Then infrastructure investment. As I said, government also came up with an act in the farm laws to encourage these infrastructure, that is cold storage, warehouses, and other processing units. So that needs to be done ताकि distress selling ना हो. Because majority when farmer no
I think there are some network issues from her side.
After
Miss Parina, if you are there,
investment.
kindly switch off. Uh, Miss Parina, there was some network issue from your side, so kindly switch off your camera and then speak so that,
And also, Parina, kindly conclude this session. Okay.
yeah,
Sure, sir. Am I audible now?
yeah, you are audible now.
Okay, so that was the way forward, and the conclusion can be drawn that it's a very important policy tool that we have, the MSP. According to the Dalwai committee that we had, we still have a lot to go because abhi bhi only 6 to 10% of farmers are actually reaping the benefit of this particular policy, and still some states are getting more benefit out of this than other states. So as we discussed that हमको इसको ब्रॉडन करने की भी जरूरत है और इस पे डिफरेंट डिफरेंट इंक्लूजन की भी जरूरत है, इंक्लूसिव इंक्लूसिव अप्रोच की जरूरत है. A food for thought that I can give to this audience is that what can be done in terms of legalization of MSP, because there is government saying that it is burden on us, and there's farmers saying that we need this because we need insurance in terms of income. And what can be our look towards WTO, because we have this discontent going on with this world organization in terms of MSP. They're saying that it's distorting our trade practices, and we are saying no, we are feeding the one of the largest population, the largest population of this world, and we need this food security benefit to go on. That's it from my side. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Parina. It was a really wonderful session today, the way you have explained about the whole concept of MSP and its different perspectives behind it. And proceeding further, it's time for some questions from our audience. So the first question I'm taking is you have also explained about some of the e-policies which somehow works in integrating the different states together. So can such technological advancements and digital platforms make MSP procurement more accessible and transparent for smaller smallholder farmers?
Yes, definitely, sir. As I mentioned in terms of ENAM also, that these digital platforms, if promoted, because digital penetration is definitely there in villages, but I think awareness is not there. And if procurement is to be done through these platforms, it will be more transparent and efficient.
And the next question is that we all are aware about the fact that the environmental changes and the agricultural patterns are not going together nowadays. There is a wide gap between both of them. So, how effective has MSP been in preventing distress sales, especially during market failures or post-harvest gluts?
I'm sure about the later part of your question, but how it is linked to the environment question I couldn't get.
Okay, so basically the fact is that the question is that how effective
No
has
issues.
MSP been?
Yeah, Shalim, no
Okay.
issues. Guest of honor will take your this question. So go ahead, Parina.
Uh,
What you want to say?
Okay, no, the effectiveness of MSP in addressing the environment issue, if that's what you were saying, that it is not at all addressing the issue, because it is, on the contrary, encouraging that thing, because MSP is generally it revolves around wheat and paddy is one crop that is one of the biggest emitter of methane, the greenhouse gas. So it is not addressing that particular um, issue, I would say.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So, thank you so much, Ms. Parina, once again. And the last question from our team, and which is that how was your experience with this initiative, Graduate Scholars Talk Series, throughout the week?
It was really nice. When the pre-meet happened and various insight was given by the team, it really helped me to enrich my particular talk, because different perspectives came, and I was able to deliver it more efficiently and effectively. So it was really nice. Thanks to Manish sir. Manish sir also encouraged me a lot when I was preparing for this. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. And once again, congratulations for such a wonderful presentation today. Now, proceeding further, it's time to invite our today's guest of honor, Miss Artika ma'am, once again for her final remarks over today's topic, and if she has some suggestions for Miss Parina's today's talk. Please, ma'am, over to you.
Okay, good evening, everyone, once again. Excellent presentation, Parina. Uh, I would start by discussing that MSP is not legally binding, like from where you ended your presentation. It was all aspect, including the historical background or the challenges or the present reforms, have been very nicely covered. But since it is not legally binding, we know that it's mainly been enforced by the procurement operations by the government. So first suggestion that I want to make is to make the procurement outreach more widened. Like you said, there are regional disparities. There is a skewed development when it comes to separate regions which are concerned. So procurement outreach can be widened and can be made more transparent in that sense in order to facilitate more and more states about it. Secondly, it is promoting a sort of a monoculture that you also mentioned, that since from the beginning we are only trying to promote crops like wheat and paddy. So till now, after so many years also, it's still been like that. And the pressing issue right now, since I'm from economics background, is our heavy dependence on the import of edible oil, which is a pressing issue these days. So how can we convert or influence our production by various small-scale farmers and other into production of oil seeds, for which we are obviously an exporter, but problem lies there in processing. So one such issue that I feel is that processing industry can be linked. So how can we relate more to the market linkages here? How can we relate it to improving market linkages so that excess production, which could be in terms of oil seeds like I'm referring to, can be switched to lesser imports on the other hand of edible oil, right? Because there is a huge lag of processing, which we are not able to do. Some of it is not congenial to our environment, for example, palm oil, etc. But others like soybean oil or sunflower oil are congenial to our environment or our conditions. So that can be another suggestion. The other thing that you mentioned about market reforms is extremely interesting when you mentioned about ENAM or farmer producer organization. So they can be taken as important case studies or role models for other organizations also to come together. For example, say Adri Farms is there or Aruku Coffee is there from Andhra Pradesh. So these are certain examples wherein small farmers have registered as a company, they are catalyzed, or they're working as a cooperative so that they can benefit. Like you rightly mentioned, that for any private contract, we look at mechanization, and mechanization can only be done if there are large farms. So having a more inclusive approach would be if we are able to form a cooperative or a company of the small farmers and marginalized farmers that are there, so that they can also benefit from the same of large farmers, like the way large farmers are benefiting from privateers and from exporters, for example. Just the last thing that I want to add here is that everywhere subsidy is seen as a burden. It is a burden on the exchequer. But I feel that just like industries or service sector, agriculture is not a sector which is completely liberalized. It is a sector which is a controlled sector. Since it is a controlled sector, so therefore it becomes a matter of justice also, fairness also, to protect the small and marginalized farmers that are there. In light of that, I support subsidies. And but obviously there is a need to bring about more improvement, not just in terms of price, but in terms of insurance, but in terms of credit markets, which are dilapidated in that sense, it also in terms of assured irrigation, which is one of the major aspects why some states like Punjab, Haryana, Western UP only benefited from Green Revolution and not the others, right? So therefore, these are some suggestions that can be added to the presentation. Otherwise, it was a very, very well-researched, a good attempt on covering all major aspects on MSP and the current situation of agriculture sector. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And something, if you can, like, ma'am, share about this initiative about GSTS, some words.
Okay, so first of all, I would like to congratulate your all the moderators, as well as the propagator of the same, who is Dr. Manish, for his sustained effort towards it. I mean, it's very commendable that it's not only started, but it has been continuing for such a long period. That is something which is to be applauded, really. And everything happened very smoothly. And it's a nice way of interacting, making effort towards more interdisciplinary approach. Like here we see people from history, pol science, economics, and various others who are interacting on one topic. So you get insights. Like if I read about MSP, then I would be more concerned about the market linkages and all such challenge. But if you, maybe somebody from historical background will discuss about it, then they would know more about what would be the changes that have been there in MSP and how it has evolved and what are the new things that have been added. So perspective from different disciplines can actually make a good study. So that way it is a very good initiative through which, you know, people from different disciplines can also come together and have discussion on common issues that are there. So I would like to congratulate all the members who are there in the particular series, who are part of the particular series.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, and for your kind words and for your remarks as well. And thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, ma'am. Now, proceeding the session further, I would like to invite Miss Manita, who is our next speaker for next Sunday, and she will be giving you a glimpse what she will be speaking on next Sunday, and she'll be speaking on the topic nationalism by various scholars. So, Miss Manita, it's over to you.
Thank you. Um, Greetings to everyone, Sir Dr. Manish Karwal, Akriti ma'am, and also the today's speaker, Parina. Nice to hear you about MSP. Obviously, it is very important. Going towards my topic, first I will introduce myself. I'm Martha Pandey. I'm graduated from Swaminathan College in History and Sociology and currently pursuing my post-graduation in History from University of Delhi. My topic for the GSTS will be nationalism by various scholars. As we know, nationalism after French Revolution being a great impact on Europe, but not only Europe, creating a various nation that we have today. Starting from Renaissance, the Enlightenment, the nationalism is something that is creating oneness as well as a self-love towards our country, what we usually speak. But when we dig down in the word of nationalism, what is going to be my agenda is the historical tracing of the nationalism and how it has affected us. So, in introduction, I will be talking about a layman definition of nationalism. Then, I would be talking about the pre-modalism, the scholar who has given a model of pre-modal nationalism and what are their lacunae. Further, I will be discussing, as you know, nationalism is a modern ideology. So, I will be discussing the modern ideology that has been presented by Benedict Anderson, Eric Hobsbawm, and the oldest one, Ernest Gellner. I will be talking about these three scholars deeply as well as briefly, giving you a specific example from the European context. Further, I will be talking about Indian nationalism and the Eurocentric view of nationalism towards all over the world. How they see that uniformity is only the means to form a nation, and how we see that diversity can also create a unity to form a nation. So this is what I will be talking about, and through all this, I will be concluding by focusing over the Indian nationalism, as well as what I have found by studying all these three scholars, how they are not only given their own opinion, but also they are complementing each other in various aspects when we discuss about their limitations. So this is what I'm going to speak on the next talk. And thank you, sir, Manish sir, for giving me this platform as well as Akriti ma'am for giving me such opportunity. And also, I will be happy to invite you all as my audience because it is my first time to present this number. So it will be very helpful that you will be there and listen. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Manita. And I'm inviting you all to be there with us on next Sunday, where Ms. Manita will be addressing 229th GSTS. And as we conclude today's discussion, I appreciate our speaker, Ms. Parina, and our guest of honor for sharing their expertise and our audience for actively participating. And thank you all for joining. And now I would like to hand over the moderation to Dr. Manish Karwar for wrapping up this session.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you, Salend. So, today I have only 1 20 second to wrap up this session, and really wonderful evening with the MSP. Though this topic is very rhetoric, and still we are having problem when my father was student, he was the same problem, and I was a student, the same rhetoric thing, and now Parina is student, the same problem. So, so this is a challenge for the economists and the commerce professors and the laureates to do something to be solve this problem. Because discussion, despite the things are really very enriching, but the same thing we continue repeating in the sense so somehow I lost interest to understand MSP, but the Parina and Madam Arkita Watts has given me a very good idea to how the resolve, because my idea to how we resolve the things now India is progressing is still we are not a country of just independent country. Now it's a 70 years, and what we did on these 70 years, this is definitely reflect in the coming 5 to 6 years. So so many my students are there to still only understand what is the MSP. This is only the first part of understanding, but how we achieve the problem, because still our farmers are living the same condition. Though I become assistant professor, associate professor, and professors, and Parinita become one day a very good bureaucrat or leader. But what about the farmers? There is still the farm law, and where I'm sitting right now, only 10 kilometers away from this place, we had a big barrier to they are not entering to the from Haryana to the Delhi. So with these ideas, because as a teacher, we sometimes we think very critically, but no issues. Parina, it's really fantastic. Though you are a student of history and political science, but you have given us a very sensible sense about the economics of this MSP also. And just Arkita ma'am told us about the history. Okay, in the history, it's definitely history is there, because this was not suddenly the government of India or the government of France or any government started their own ideas. Everybody knows about those who are coming from the history background. Before this, Asoka, Samudraguptas, and even Alauddin Khilji had the same policy about the price control policy. If you go and study the Chanakya's policies or the Alauddin Khilji market policy, you'll find so many things are the similar in right now what we are learning right now. So though it's fantastic, but our research scholars, our teachers, including me, we want some solution. So this is my final remarks for this MSP, and really I'm happy. The star of the Miss Parina Sharma from Maitri College from Jamia Milia Islamia, searching for the PhD, and a very proud member of the Ministry of Culture program, Manthan, I think so. Something,
Yes.
yes, Manthan. So you did so many things in very small life. Even you didn't thought about all these things till MA, that will do so many things. And the next speaker, it's a really very interesting talk. LSR alumni and now MA in history, and she's talking first time. So that's why the inception of this platform is important, and I always encourage my all teachers and other friends to kindly start these kind of things for their own colleges. I know 10% of teachers, they are doing day to day in their college and interacted with their students like this manner. I'm nothing doing, we are nothing doing very great work, because people are doing this work in their colleges also. So thank you very much, all my esteemed colleagues from the different colleges, my graduate, my postgraduate, my MPhil and PhD students from different colleges, and guest of honor, Miss Artika works yesterday, because Saturday and it's not Artika ma'am, it's not the you are the only the first choice. Why? Because Saturday is only time when I search the guest of honor, because till Monday to Friday I'm totally Africanist in until Saturday afternoon. After that, okay, so I goes for those friends or colleagues or students or scholars that easily accepted or accepting my invitation, because it's still hard to write the application through the college. So I'm not believing all those of the red carpet and the bureaucratic idea. So it's every time the first choice on Saturday evening, I called one or two, and I think if they are free, they accepted my invitation. Thank you, Artika Works, for accepting our invitation. And Parina, it was
Thank you so much.
very interesting to listen to you. And suddenly you got deep. You are so energetic till 49 minutes, but one interruption and you feel less energy. Don't worry. You have crafted your whole idea very good. So thank you very much, Shyam Lal Evening College and their teachers, principal, and the IQS in charge. So it's time to wrap up this session. Thank you very much, and we'll meet next Sunday with a more nationalist or more idea about the Eurocentric or Indocentric approach. Listen to young scholar in the coming, say, Manita Pandey, but Manita must include the what right now, what is nationalism in this 2025. This is the most important. The Anderson, very good, one of my favorite also. But also want to inculcate or infuse some what contemporary in going on, because history is not about the past. Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Take care. Thank you.